Switching gears now, focusing up and down the Premier League table. Let's preview all the games coming up in Match Week 3, Andy, give our predictions for who's going to win. And let's start with the title challenges as we see them right now. We talked a lot about Arsenal versus Fulham in the show earlier this week, and we both predicted a pretty comfortable 2-0 win for Arsenal just because of their firepower, the way they've been. I used a British word, you said stodgy, to sum them up. So if they were a British pie, they'd be a nice steak and kidney number, I think, and just poke everything up and just, they got a punch in there in the attacking third as well. And even with some of the big players out, they've handled themselves quite well early in the season. Mm-hmm. At Fulham, like we said, Mitrovic being away now in Saudi Arabia and he's gone. I do worry where the goals are going to come from. And you mentioned it as well. If you look at the advanced stats, Fulham were really against it last season for most of the campaign, but managed to finish in the top 10, which is a wonderful achievement. But it feels like it might just correct itself a little bit this campaign. So do fear a little bit for Fulham, and I think Arsenal are going to be the nearest team to Man City, and I think Arsenal will win against Fulham this weekend. Let's talk about Man City then. They're travelling away to Sheffield United, the new boys. Kind of a tricky test, but you would think Pep Guardiola's side have enough there, even with some of the injuries they've had, to get by the Blades. But I remember the end of last season, Sheffield United did give them quite a good game in the FA Cup semi-final at Wembley. But I don't know. I feel a bit sorry for Sheffield United because they've obviously lost a couple of their best players from the promotion-winning campaign. Yeah. And they've lost 2 narrow games the first couple of the season against obviously Forest and Crystal Palace. And it feels like that's a sign of things to come for Sheffield United. They'll be solid, they'll hang in there, but I just don't know where that quality is to win them games. So surely just a big Man City win this weekend. What do you think?
If Sheffield United get 5 shots in the game, I think they count this as a win. But just the way that Manchester City defend right now and control the game, and it's not just the back line, it's not just the fact that they just brought in Josko Vardiol, who maybe is the best center back, or defensive, because he's now kind of playing a little bit of kind of left-sided center back, left back hybrid there for Pep, who won't be there this weekend, by the way, going to miss a little bit of time after having back surgery. So that's just an interesting subplot to keep in mind there. But with the midfield, especially with Rodri and now Mateo Kovacic coming in, with De Bruyne going down there in the first game, he's slotted in seamlessly. And it's another example of Pep having the perfect idea of, this is exactly what I need in a player that can do this. This is a player that can do it. I don't care that it seems like a random transfer. I don't care that he's only got a couple years left, maybe at the highest level. Right now, this season, he will do the job, and Kovacic is doing that. City are just a machine. They are an absolute machine. They'll win by at least 2, if not 3.
Yeah, I'd agree with that totally. And you're right, Kovacic is it's like he's always been in a Man City kit now. You see him for like one game, and it's like, yeah, this makes sense. This makes total sense for him to play in a Pep Guardiola side. Okay, let's look at like the European challenges. That's what I have them down for. Again, we spoke a lot about Newcastle against Liverpool. We previewed that earlier in the show this week. But you went with Newcastle, I went with Liverpool. We both went with a lot of goals. So this is unpredictable. This game usually is unpredictable. My reasoning for picking Liverpool is that I think Jota, Diaz, and Salah are going to finish off their chances in attack. But you mentioned Newcastle, a bit better defensively than Liverpool, and playing at St. James's, that's the X factor as well, right? So I feel like this could go either way, but whatever happens, there's going to be drama and a lot of goals at St. James's. When we talk about Manchester United, there's been a lot of drama around them, but not for the right reasons so far this season, Andy. And they host Nottingham Forest this weekend. I would say a home win, but I could kind of maybe see this being a draw. I've seen enough from Forest, even away in stages at Arsenal, where they're kind of building on staying up last season. And the players they're adding and the confidence they've got from that. Wouldn't surprise me if they go and get a draw at Old Trafford, but maybe United just edge it with some of their extra quality. But this is an intriguing game.
Yeah, we talked a lot about Liverpool's midfield and their balance or lack thereof this week already. Manchester United have the exact same problem. Casemiro is effectively on an island. He's taking a lot of risks, by the way, and I think unnecessary risks, but unnecessary. I think they're necessitated a little bit by what's happening ahead of him with Bruno and Mason Mount. Not quite fitting. I mean, Mason Mount is playing a lot deeper, kind of alongside Casemiro. And if you watch Mason Mount at Chelsea, it's not what Mason Mount does. And so it's an interesting idea from Eric Ten Hag. And Bruno has never been a defensive grinder. He's a player that takes a lot of risks in and out of possession. So does Mason. So do a lot of players in this team. It feels like Ten Hag has a good idea. A good set of ideas, but he just does not have the right players to implement hardly any of it at this point. And they are just going to, I think they're going to continue to struggle until they get in some midfield help for Casemiro. They still need that. He can't do it himself. And I think also still a center forward. Rasmus Højlund is going to come into the team after he gets back from injury, but I'm not overly hopeful that a 20-year-old is going to be the solution to all of their problems at this point. They kind of had a bad transfer window, Joe. They missed out on the big names, the big top targets that they had, and they have just once again done the Manchester United thing of pay a big fee for a player that's not quite that quality and expect them to be that quality when they arrive. And I don't see it happening.
Yeah, Mason Mount is injured, so it looks like Christian Eriksen's going to come in and maybe provide a bit more balance in that midfield area, a bit else. But again, he's not a player that primarily plays in a more defensive role. So it is going to be interesting. That the balance is totally off. I like Andre Onana, the sign-in, played out from the back. And let's not forget, against Tottenham, they did create a lot of good chances, but Anthony hit the post, Bruno missed a sitter, Casemiro was denied by a great save. So they're still creating chances, and I think they'll get a lot of chances against Forest, but it's just about being clinical and getting Marcus Rashford in the right positions to try and finish those off. So I said at the start I could see a draw. I'm going to go for a narrow United win against Forest in that one, but I don't think it's going to be particularly comfortable for the Red Devils. Okay, Bournemouth against Tottenham. Tottenham win, I think. Ange Ball, I was at the big win against Man United, his first home game in the Premier League in charge of Spurs, and great atmosphere, a lot of positive vibes, a new era. You've got Maddison, Kulusevski, Son, and Richarlison flying around in attack. Basuma and Sarr dominating midfield. I just think Spurs will overrun Bournemouth here, Andy. What do you think?
I mean, for a time in that game, they overran Manchester United. So I think they can do it to... Yeah, Ange, he's the right manager at the right club, I think, at the right time. When you are about to undertake a rebuild, and they're nowhere near done, by the way. There's still a couple transfer windows from being able to complete what needs to be done with the squad. But when you bring in somebody to start that process, he has to be able to give joy and excitement back to not just the team, but the fan base as well. And that's a fan base that was just demoralized for the last 3 years. You go from Jose Mourinho to 10 games of Nuno to Antonio Conte to Christian Stellini to Ryan May. It just was... There was no point in the last 3 years where being a Spurs fan was fun at all. And through 2 games, it might be the funnest team to be a fan of in the Premier League at this point. Just the way that they are playing and the excitement that exists around them now and the possibilities of what it could become. And getting back to, again, we talk about this all the time, just the identity, the DNA of what Spurs are and why so many people that are Spurs fans identified with that club in the first place. And so it's very nice to see. It's incredible that Yves Bissouma played for this club and couldn't get into the team last season, because he has been, for me, one of the best players in the league so far this season, and just showing on a much bigger stage than he ever had at Brighton, all due respect, what he can do at a much higher level. I'm very excited to see where this team goes this season. I think it's finally a very comfortable and dominant performance from Spurs this weekend, and they win 3-1.
Yeah, I'll take that. That's really good. And I had the chance to catch up with Heung-min Son, the new Tottenham captain, after that win against Man United, and he said, it's great to play this Ange Ball way. It's attacking, it's exciting, but he's like, we need to stay focused and keep the balance. We gave away too many big chances, so it is a work in progress for sure. But I think the players now, they know the path they're on, they know the journey they're on, and like you said, speaking to Spurs fans around the stadium as well. That's all they wanted from this new era. They wanted to be excited. They said all the swashbuckling teams over the years, we don't care if we win every game, but we want to have a chance to win every game and see our team go in for it and have a clear identity that meshes with what the fans want. And they have that under Ange, so I'm excited to see what they do this season. Brentford against Crystal Palace, London derby. that is the clearest draw I've ever seen in my life. I think 1-1 is my prediction for that game, but both teams solid. I think they'll be steady in mid-table again, and obviously Brentford losing Tony for most of the season, Palace losing Zaha. Intrigued to see if they're going to make some big moves in the transfer window late in the summer window, but we'll wait and see. But I think those two teams will be absolutely fine this season. And then Brighton against West Ham, two teams in the Europa League group stage. Obviously, Brighton, first ever European campaign. Top of the table as we go into this weekend after 2 4-1 wins. Roberto De Zerbi just keeps doing it, right? Just motivating the team. Matoma stepping up. You know, he got his chance because Trossard was moved on. He's taken it. You look around the pitch and what Brighton have managed to do is pretty sensational. And you know what? I like what West Ham have done in the transfer window as well. Bringing in Edson Alvarez and James Ward-Prowse in midfield to replace Declan Rice, 2 players for 1 there. And, they're looking at like they're going to get Mohamed Kudus in attack as well. So that's another really good signing for West Ham. So I'm going to go for a Brighton win, though, at home. How dominant they've been so far this season. I just think West Ham are maybe a little bit behind in what they can do, but they were pretty good in that win against Chelsea last weekend. So I could easily see that being a draw down at the Amex. Let's look at some of the relegation scrappers, and I've picked out Chelsea against Luton here, Andy. I don't mean to pick out Chelsea's relegation scrappers, more so focused on Luton, but not a great start for Mauricio Pochettino, not a great start for Caicedo as well on his debut, giving away that penalty and looking quite rusty. I mean, he hasn't had a pre-season really, so it kind of makes sense. But is the pressure already cranking up a few notches on Pochettino, or is it still pretty early days for him at Chelsea?
It's realistically, yeah, because it's Chelsea. Should it be? No, because of all the injuries that have occurred already for this team, and the fact that Nkunku's out and now Chukwuemeka is going to miss a month and a half or 2. That, for the 3rd time this week, we're going to talk about one of the big teams in the Premier League, one of the big 6, and say their midfield balance is completely off right now. The difference is between the other 2 teams that we've talked about, United and Liverpool, this one has a new manager in this season, so there's going to be some of that transitional time, and they will figure it out, but I think they're going to struggle a little bit early on in the season before they quite get it right. Not this weekend, though. Not against Luton. I don't think the Hatters are going to give them too much trouble because Pochettino needs, and I mean capital letters, needs a win.
Yeah, he does. I could go for like a 3-1 win to Chelsea or something like that. I think that's going to be okay. Yeah. But you're right. It's still early days. A lot of injuries, and Nkunku being out is a big one. So let's see if Chelsea are forced to make even more moves in the transfer window, which you wouldn't put it past them, would you, given the last 2 transfer windows under the new ownership. Everton and Wolves are 2 teams. They're facing off at Goodison, who would love to be able to do some business in the transfer window. But given the financial situation at both clubs, looks like a season of struggle coming up for them, and they're just trying to stay in the Premier League. I mean, Everton embarrassed, really, against Aston Villa last time out. 4-0, could have been a lot worse, that defeat. And Sean Dyche said I could have taken every player off at half-time. They were that bad. And they're trying to get some additions, especially in attack. We know scoring goals has been a big problem for Everton. Been a big problem for Wolves, though, and Gary O'Neill coming in on the eve of the season to replace Lopetegui. I actually kind of like what I've seen from Wolves, even in the defeat at Brighton last weekend. They had chances, just didn't take them, and that's been the big problem. And I just don't know if they've got the funds, either of these teams, to get that clinical finisher in. So probably a draw, which will suit neither team, and both teams will be searching for another win or a win early in the season. So, but I kind of think Wolves will finish above Everton when all is said and done, given some of the defensive players they have and just where they're at. But I don't know. It's going to be a tough season for both of those teams. And finally, wrapping up match week 3, Burnley against Aston Villa. We're seeing Burnley again because we saw them in the opening game, and then they've had a break because their game against Luton was postponed. So I liked what I saw from Vincent Kompany's side, but I think this is a very good Aston Villa team. The only argument I can make is that Villa are in qualifying for the Europa Conference League against Hibernian in midweek. So, rotation squad-wise early in the season, how's that going to work? But I think Villa should have too much here for Burnley. But again, I could see this being a draw. Any big prediction from you for this game at Turf Moor?
No, I'll take Villa because they know who they are. They know exactly kind of what the rotation of the team is, the lineup, the balance, just all of those key important things that we talk about. The one of those things can upset a season or get in the way. They've got all of them figured out. Emery's got this team playing really well. You take the opening day result aside, it's just kind of a freak moment there. And I think who we saw them be against Everton is who they're going to be a lot of this season. They're going to dominate games with possession. They're going to create a lot of chances. So I'll take Aston Villa. I'll go 2-0 in this one.
Yeah, that seems about right. The issue I have with Burnley, they play some lovely stuff, press high, but I don't know who's going to score the goals to keep them in the Premier League this season. And we know that Villa, so many great options, great additions. And as you said, they know who they are. They've identified great players to add in, and the likes of Diaby, Zaniolo, and just Pau Torres as well. Just through the spine of the team, they've become so much stronger this year. And hats off to Unai Emery, doing a great job there at Villa Park.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.